And we're live. Sweet. So, the first part of the discussion is going to be over the article that we read, the Harvard Business article. And so I don't know if
Okay.
I just put down a couple of notes to like help guide the discussion, but if you guys want to maybe pull that up, I don't know if that will kind of help you maybe pull some answers. But for the first question, each of us is supposed to take one of the paradigms
Mm-hmm.
and that's described in that article. And then we're supposed to give an example of an organization that you have observed or worked for that shows an aspect of the paradigm that you choose. So I don't know like what jobs you guys have held, but just like I don't know if you guys can think of a work experience that um, you've experienced one of these paradigms in. And so I'll give you guys just maybe a minute to kind of brainstorm and come up with an idea.
Okay.
Do you guys have a preference for which paradigm you want to choose?
No. I could talk about the discrimination and fairness paradigm.
Okay.
Wait, which one?
So
So
the
there's
discrimination
so the three that they
fairness.
have outlined for this, I'm not sure if these are the ones I know that there was the PowerPoint and then there was the ones from the article. The ones that I have are assimilation, differentiation, and integration. So let me pull up the article here. So it looks like the assimilation paradigm is the we're all the same paradigm. The
Uh-huh.
differentiation is the we celebrate difference paradigm. And then the
Yeah.
other one's kind of like the combination of the two. So
Yeah.
which one were you thinking?
Maybe like we celebrate differences.
Okay, so the differentiation paradigm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But that's like, well, it talks about that like the discrimination and fairness paradigm. So I'm assuming that would fall under the differentiation, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because in that one it just talks about like the equal employment opportunities and like I'm assuming like racial fairness. Because we read a lot of people who are discriminated against like for their race, like in the workforce or because of their age or like sickness, like that woman that had polio that got fired because she got sick.
Uh-huh. So, I think that all of them address discrimination, but they just have like different approaches. And so the one that I guess kind of maybe I'll just jump in on the integration paradigm. Is that cool, Catherine?
Yep.
So I'll just kind of give an example of what I experienced, and then maybe that'll kind of help you guys put together some thoughts. But have you guys ever heard of Dutch Bros Coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So obviously I wasn't an active member of the church at the time, but I worked for Dutch Bros Coffee for a couple of years. And one of the really cool things about working there is they really highlight the this kind of integration paradigm,
Yeah.
because it's not like we're not hiring all people of a certain race or ethnicity to highlight or exploit or draw in like more
Yeah.
customers. Like they just recognize that those people have like skills and assets and personalities and experiences that like build a very unique culture. Um,
Uh-huh.
and when I was working at Dutch Bros, they were like one of the most successful like coffee shops. Like the expansion in the Boise, Meridian, Nampa area is like unreal. Like they have a new stand that goes up, and like they have grand openings with like 80 car lines just for free coffee, and it's just ridiculous. But I just thought it was one of those. It was a cool work experience because um, nobody that I worked with was the same. Like everybody had different personalities, and like everybody kind of had different qualities, but that's what made the environment so good, I guess. So that was just kind of my work example.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
How, like, you guys had to work as a team to get, like, because is it usually a drive-through, right? It's like a small building drive-through.
Yeah, teeny drive through.
How I guess if you don't mind me asking, kind of like a follow-up question, how did the diversity of your team, did you find that it made it more like your team faster or more effective as far as getting stuff out the door?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I feel like the coffee's coffee, you know, and it's easy to make, and I think if you know the recipes and like understand that people are like their time is valuable, and so you need to like work quickly. I think that that's all kind of inherent. I think that the aspect that was so culturally diverse was the personality aspect, not necessarily like the work aspect, because everybody worked well together, but it was their unique qualities that I feel like really helped.
So like you're
Yeah.
saying more of like the mood.
Yeah, the atmosphere, because like when you go to Dutch Bros, they're like, "Bro, what's up, dude? Like, I just had 6 cup of coffee, dude. You're like, what's up, bro? Do you need loud music?" And then like, "Here's your coffee," and it's like, "Whoa, dude, my mind was just blown." You know, so I don't know. It's just kind of a fun atmosphere, and like, not everybody was like that, but the people that were definitely got good tips, and it was just fun. So
Yeah.
Do you being in that kind of like the integration paradigm, like do you feel like that like prepared you for like other, I don't know how to phrase it, like working in like other jobs? Do you think that like your experience there will help?
totally, yeah, no, I definitely, and I don't know. I feel like it just, again, I don't know. I think it just kind of comes down to like a certain type of leader that really listens to other people. And the nice thing is like, you know, I really felt like they cared about me. I guess my employer, like my manager, they cared about me and they wanted to help me grow and stuff like that. And I think it just kind of taught me, I guess, kind of the value of like listening to others a little bit, because they listened to me and I appreciated that. And so if I'm ever on the other side of the fence where I'm in a manager setting or like an employer setting, I want to be the kind of person that values my employees and what they have to offer, I guess.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that one.
So I don't know. Do you guys have any experiences where you guys were, you know, in a place where it's like, oh, we're all the same, and like they kind of are like that bureaucratic, like, well, we're gonna treat everybody the exact same, and it's like almost like, I don't know, like if you want to like take the gospel, like Christ, you know, he treats each individual differently based on their personal attributes, and this is like the exact opposite. It's like, okay, we're just going to treat everybody fairly so we don't get sued. We're going to hire enough, you know, people, so that way we don't get, you know, put under the furnace or whatever. But we really don't care about cultural diversity. And then on the other hand, you have the differential paradigm, which from what I took from the reading was more like they just hired on people. They recognized that they had like value in the company, but they didn't actually like use that. They just used it for what they needed their business to use it for, if that makes sense. Like if you're Hispanic, we hire you so you'll draw on more Hispanic culture, but we don't actually value the fact that you're Hispanic. We're just going to exploit it.
Yeah, no, totally.
So I have
Oh, go ahead, Catherine.
sorry. So I guess I have a small example. Over spring break, I had some friends that took me to the Nike headquarters in Portland.
Nice.
And I got to see some of the campus and how they interact and stuff. And obviously I don't know the company super well, so this is a total surface level judgment on their company. But one thing I did notice being in the lunchroom with them was that there's a ton of different ethnic groups. Like there's people from India and China, Pakistan, like all kinds of people from all walks of life. And I think Portland's definitely a place where they definitely seek for differences. But as far as meshing them together to make them one unit, I don't think they maybe do that as well as they could have. Like you can see it just from my small observation from eating lunch there was that all the different races kind of sit separately. So they're all there,
Uh-huh.
they don't sit together. And so I
Totally.
think that's a big indicator of that differentiation that yes, we value race, but and like differences, but they all have their separate places.
Totally. That's a perfect
Yeah.
example.
I don't really have like any like examples like racially, but like I know my uncle worked for a company a few years ago that well, and my dad, that they had a boss who was really discriminatory against members of the church. And so like it was really hard for them to work for that company because their boss just like did not respect their morals or their values. And like they both ended up quitting and finding new jobs just because like they didn't want to work somewhere where they were miserable forever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it makes like all the difference in the world too, like who you work with and if they're gonna like treat you with the same kind of respect that you would treat them with.
Totally. Sweet. Well, we'll keep kind of moving on. And it says that Melody Hobson says that color blindness is dangerous. Do you agree? Is she making a point similar to the ones made by the authors in Making a Difference Matters? And Making Differences Matter. And like, just I'll go ahead and maybe kind of give, I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you need me to repeat the question? I kind of worded that funny.
I loved this video. I thought it was super insightful. The fact that she talks about people are definitely aware that there needs to be racial integration and like meshing it together. But kind of like with the Nike example, just because you have different races there doesn't necessarily mean that they're integrated. Honestly, I thought of our campus and like there's so many different cultures here, but how many times have I seen like all the Ghanaians hang out together and all the Latinos hang out together and all the white kids hang out together, you know? And I was like, man, I hope that I make an effort to be around people who challenge my paradigms and make me think differently.
Totally.
So yeah, I agree. I also really liked the video. I thought like it was different than, because normally like when I like am assigned videos like for school, like I watch them because I have to, but I actually really enjoyed this one. And I thought interesting how she was saying that like what you do in the workplace or like what you do matters kind of thing. Like the differences that you choose to make are important and they're valued by others.
Totally. And like just kind of stemming off that, like I liked how she included like the reason why we need to like address this and like address it tactfully, because like it's she expressed like she knows it's there, like everybody knows that race is like something that's like, or racial discrimination is there, but like nobody's like wanting to like tackle it, I guess, and it's like uncomfortable like for everybody because nobody wants to offend and nobody wants to, but she said it needs to be kind of uncomfortable. That way like what we do now will have like far-reaching effects on like future generations. Like the way that we can shift our paradigm now will help to kind of fix potential discrimination in the future. And I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it says, why do the authors of Making Differences Matter believe integration, learning, and effectiveness paradigm is the best way to approach diversity in the workplace? Do you agree with them? And then like why or why not?
Yeah, I do. I just think that like the best, like, I don't know. I think that like you have to be careful how you approach those kinds of things, especially like when race is involved, because people are so like sensitive about that. Like not lately, they've always been sensitive, but I think that like that is probably the best approach, just because like you're integrating yourself into like an environment, and so you are learning how to like incorporate your culture with another culture if the person is different from like what you know and what you're used to. And I think you have to do that throughout your whole life.
Totally. Catherine, what do you think?
When I was reading about these three different, they kind of seemed like steps. The first step is to differentiate, and then assimilate, and then integrate. I think one of the aspects that I really liked about it was integration seemed a lot like the book that we read last semester, Leadership Presence, Yes, and that you have to, the environment has to be such where you listen to other people's ideas and take them and add it all together. Because if you just listen and say, yeah, okay, and like you can say that you listened, but it didn't really contribute to anything. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah.
No, it's all about building off of each other, and I think that that's why this paradigm is so unique, is because it's like it embraces the fact that everybody's different, not only like racially, but like just from like the core values and like everything. Like every person's unique. Like color, you take that out of it, everybody's still different. But it's like we really want to utilize and I guess like use the talents that everybody has and their experiences to contribute to like the main purpose of like whatever organization you happen to be working for. And so
Yeah.
I just think it's an awesome, I really do. I think it's like almost like the happy medium. I was thinking not necessarily in steps. I think that that's the perfect way to look at it. I thought that was really cool. But in my mind, it was almost similar in the sense that it's like you're just finding a middle ground, I guess, if that makes sense. It's like at first it was like we're all the same, and then the second was like we're all different. Like let's push everybody into their differences, and this is like, well, let's take both those things and make something kind of cool out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I never thought about it that way, actually.
So cool. Well, let's keep moving forward here. I'm trying to be conscious of the time, Allie. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So in this portion of the discussion is based off of the video. And so there's 5 questions, so we'll try to cruise through them quickly. But it says, what does Hobson mean about being color brave? Do you think color braveness what do you think color braveness would look like in a workplace? Is it similar to the integration paradigm, or is she talking about something completely different?
I don't know. This is like a hard question.
Some of these questions actually take a little bit of like thought. They're not. I feel like the last case study was pretty straightforward, but I think it does, because in a sense, because it's addressing the issue, and that's like kind of one of the big highlights. She's like, if we're gonna fix this problem, we got to tackle it head on. And I think integration is like, okay, we recognize that it's an issue. What are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna incorporate different people from different backgrounds? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like you said, I think it's a balance of recognizing those differences, but yet seeing that those differences also make us the same.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
Sorry,
Yeah, totally.
my internet's really crappy, so if you can't see me, I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. That happened to me last week. My camera wasn't working, so.
Going like in and out. So.
No worries. Let's go ahead and we'll cruise on to number 2. Allie, did you have anything on that one?
No, I just kind of reiterating what you both said.
Perfect. So the authors of Making a Difference explain that some managers are more comfortable addressing problems with outright discrimination than other more subtle diversity problems. Have you ever been in a team, group, or organization where one person's ideas or approach to doing work was hard for the rest of the group to understand because of their difference in background, experience, gender, race, or something else? So I guess like was it ever hard for you to like adopt somebody's view because of their race or anything like, any race, gender, stuff like that?
No, I think that like I'm a pretty like non-judgmental, open person. Like I'm pretty accepting. And so I've personally never had an issue where like someone's different ideas like affect like my opinion. In fact, like I like working with people who come from different cultures or have different ideas of things because it's like a new, fresh view kind of. And like a lot of times it ends up being better than anything I could have ever thought of on my own.
Totally. Ironically, this is going to sound terrible, so don't judge me. But like the only time that I have a hard time accepting things is from my wife. For whatever reason, me and my wife are like so strong-willed. And so not necessarily, I don't struggle with this like in my elders core. I'm like, I like try to be like super open to like ideas and stuff. But like for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I'm just so stubborn with my wife. But I think that's just part of being married. So, but I'm like you. I really try to incorporate like other people's input and stuff like that. But anyways, I just thought that was a fun side note.
No, I think that's cool that I guess you acknowledge that and know that that's just a part of who you guys are and you work it out. Honestly, I feel like this happened a lot on my mission.
Fair enough.
Like I would try so hard to understand someone's perspective. For example, this one lady who grew up Jewish but didn't believe in Christ and now practiced meditation and not Judaism, but was studying, like investigating our church. And she asked me like super hard questions. And honestly, it's really hard because I think when you fully take on someone else's perspective, it makes you super vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you feel like, what if I'm not right? Like, but it's so good for you to keep taking on other people's perspectives because, at least in the gospel sense, for me, it helped me kind of like consider a different point of view and figure out my opinion on it and how that could fit in with the gospel and how aspects of it couldn't, and kind of gaining an appreciation for her perspective, but also, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the visual that comes to my mind is kind of like you go underground and you like do deep investigation and kind of struggle within yourself, and then you come out of it and you're like, okay, totally different perspective, and get a better understanding.
Totally.
Yeah,
no, I would agree 100%. And like I had brother Delton, like he shifted my whole perspective on a ton of stuff through like his course readings and all that. And so ironically, I used to judge a lot of the practices that I now do until somebody that was like brilliant and awesome like presented them in a way that just made sense to me, and then it was like so easy to adopt them. But I think it's really you can't get too ironically, we're talking about different paradigms today, and like I think that's interesting because like the second that you box yourself into like one specific paradigm, it just limits your growth so much, and there are so many different ways to accomplish the same goal. And I think that's kind of the key of this lesson is like there are a million ways that you could accomplish like the task, and there's no specific like ingredient or way, but it's like finding out what works best for you and the people you work with and just utilizing and capitalizing on it.
Totally.
So
I have to go in about 5 minutes, so
yeah, no, I was just thinking that. So we're a good portion of the way through. What I'm thinking is let's address maybe a couple of the questions from the Elder Ballard reading.
okay.
Really fast. And then what we'll do is, I don't know if we could even extend the hangout, and I'll just like let Sister Krieger know that that like our doohickeys discussion prior to this took a little bit longer, and so you had to check out a little bit early. But I don't think that should be an issue.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah,
This is kind of a silly question. Do we have to go through every single one of the questions? Because I feel like we're covering a lot of.
You know, honestly, ironically, I can't remember if it's an article. No, I had a meeting with one of the stake presidency. We did a breakfast up on campus, and he talked about how like during like elders quorum, everybody will like be having an awesome discussion, and like the spirit will be there, and somebody will be like, "Well, we need to move on," and he's like, "Why? Like, what permits you to like move on?" You know. And so I think this, even though it's not a spiritual discussion, I think the same spirit applies here. Like as long as we're talking about discussing and gaining from the stuff, I think we're cool. But I do think that we should cover as much as we can from the outlined questions and stuff like that. So anyways, Elder Ballard reading. So he talked about the church councils and stuff like that. It says, does like word council, I don't know if you guys have ever attended a word council, but does it follow the integration paradigm? Like, does it take everybody's differences and come to like, I guess like kind of a uniform sort of approach to tackling whatever it is?
Ideally.
I honestly was thinking the same thing. I think it really just depends on if the spirit's there. I think that has a big thing to do with it, but also like it depends on how the council's going about approaching their discussions. And I thought it was really cool that they'd use the example of I think it was like the bishop that just handed out, responsibility. He saw the problem, came up with a formula in his head, distributed or delegated like all the responsibilities. But it's like, who wants to adopt somebody else's, goals that they had nothing to do with? It's hard for you just to say like, okay, I'll just do whatever you want me to do, and I'm just chopped liver here. But anyways, what are your guys' thoughts?
Just kind of the same thing as you, just like reiterating like that. What question are we on again? I'm getting so confused.
Sorry, we are on the first question for Elder Ballard. Do you have the questions up right now?
Yeah, I do. So I just was reading the question below it.
Okay.
I do think that the word council, I do think that it kind of like follows the integration paradigm. I think it just depends on like the leader and the way that they run things.
Totally. I would agree. Let's see, what are the advantages? So I guess like it asks like, what are the advantages to bishops counseling with their elders quorum presidents, relief society presidents, primary presidents, like etc.?
I think you get a better perspective of what the whole ward feels like, rather than if you didn't take in their opinion. I am going to say, though, if you do, I think a lot of times why it doesn't happen is because it's so tiny. It was definitely a wake-up call for me and how I run my presidency meeting on Sunday. I was like, okay, I can learn from this.
Totally. No, I tried to use a lot of the learnings from courses like this and like stuff that we learned in IO, and I don't like strategically implement those strategies into core meetings and stuff like that, but I try to like adopt some of the overarching principles that we learned. I think that there's a lot of good stuff to be implemented like in the spiritual side of things. Allie, do you have to peace out? We'll let you get going if you do.
Yeah, I do have to go. Sorry. I for my team.
No, totally. No, that's totally cool. Like I said, we got kicked off a little bit later than I expected. So,
no.
Anyways, thank you for your insights and stuff like that. Is there anything that you guys want to cover before we get done here? Catherine, do you want to hang out for another minute? We can maybe just finish up some of the questions just so we have like a good I'm trying to think, just like a good time limit on our video and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow at 1.
Yeah, sounds good.
See ya.
Bye.
So anyways, well, let's tackle a couple more of these questions before we get out of here, just for the sake of educating ourselves. So going back to like the ladies video, do you happen to have the questions pulled up?
I don't.
Okay. It says many companies still do have problems with outright discriminations. Have you ever observed a company where outright discrimination problems occurred? And then what was the experience like? And I don't think I've ever had like an experience where somebody like was like, really, like sexist or racist or anything like that. But I have like, it's ironic that Sarah and I were talking about some of like our professors that are a little bit like direct, I guess, or about like race and different things. And it's like nobody knows how to approach it.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
It's so awkward. Like she told me about one of the professors that she had, and it was like, just like he like was like, okay, how many of you guys blah 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 blah, and he kind of asked like questions about I think like race and different stuff like that, and like I can't remember. I felt he like asked some like pretty uncomfortable questions or whatever, and like nobody like knew what to do. And I don't know, I just feel like the same thing happens when like people start talking about race, like they just like have to start tiptoeing, and it's like people just want to be treated normal, and like people that are Hispanic or black or just like any race really, like in white, like they know that they're those things, and it's like nobody, I don't know, I feel like it's like a topic that if we tiptoe around it, like it's never going to get fixed. And I think that's kind of one of the points that lady was making.
Yeah. So I guess I did have an experience a few days ago, actually.
Nice.
Somewhere where I work, a person made some kind of underlying sexist comments to me.
Oh, yikes.
And I was like, I didn't really know how to handle it because, with this new job that I'm taking, I'm kind of in a leadership position, but I'm the only girl on the team.
Nice.
And I guess I don't think they meant it, but like the comments were like, "Oh, you'd be good at that because you're a girl," sort of thing. And I was like, "Okay." Like, and it was just sort of frustrating to like work on a team like that. It definitely, from that point on, I didn't feel like I could share my opinion fully, or I was very guarded about what I was gonna share because it was like I
because it's
wanted
attached to you as a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So that's frustrating.
See, the interesting thing is like I'm like for one, I'm white male, and like I live in like I guess Idaho, or I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like I don't know, I just feel like I've never been on the other side of the fence. Like I've never like experienced what it feels like to be a girl, or I've never experienced what it feels like to be, of a different nationality, and it like kind of sucks because like I don't know, I guess I'll just never really understand like what they experience, because it wasn't until I took Brother Dalton that like this was one of the things that I gained from 311, but he was like talking about how if people like are missing like like an arm or a finger or like whatever, like then according to, I think it was like he was talking about Gestalt psychology, but he's like the rest of the world doesn't view those people as whole, like that you have to have all of your limbs or you have to have all of your abilities or all of these things to be like a whole person, if that makes sense. And like I feel the same way about like nationality and stuff like that. Like they don't like, I don't know, I felt really bad because like I was trying to be like kind of like I held the door for this dude, like for, like blatantly, like this dude was like 20 feet away but he was in a wheelchair, so like, oh, I'll hold the door for him because that's nice, right? So I like open the door for this dude and he cruises through, and then like I was like, oh, I can get the next one, trying to like kind of be polite, I guess, and like but he like kind of grabbed the door and then he like opened it and like shot through, and like he almost seemed like frustrated by that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like it wasn't till like that I realized he just wanted to be treated like a human. Like,
Yeah.
does that make sense? Like he just wanted to be treated like a competent, like smart person that like is capable of doing like whatever he wants to do. And I just like I get the same thing from the race stuff. Like they just want to be treated like a whole person. Like they don't want to be highlighted for their differences. They just want to be like I don't know what the word. They just want to be like just want to be valued as a human, you know? I don't know, it's a weird thing.
No, I totally get that. It's so interesting. That is an interesting situation because, like, I feel like oftentimes people that are handicapped, they don't, like you said, they don't want to be set apart and they don't want to be given any special circumstance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I wish that I could just experience, because like I feel so bad when I like read these studies about like girls and like minorities, because it's just like it is there. I mean, it's obvious that this problem is there, but like nobody knows how to approach it. Like not even people that are on the recipient side, you know what to do about it. And I don't know. I don't know what's gonna shift the focus, but I don't know, maybe this integration thing's a good way to start, pushing things,
Really. Like I said, like that's never happened to me before, so I was really taken back when that person said something like that. But I think I think a lot of times the media is trying to influence quite a bit as far as diversity
Mm-hmm.
and equality, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. Like, I don't know, it's kind of what we talked about in Brother Dalton's class. Like, we need to like start shifting our perspective of what leadership looks like. Because like for you, you're in a position of leadership. I'm not sure exactly what you're doing, but it's probably like unfamiliar for like 6 guys or whatever, whoever you're, coordinating with, for you to like, it's probably like weird for them to like be taking instruction from a girl, which is so silly. Like why, like why that would even be a thing. But it's like one of the things that now, since it is a thing, that you're going to have to put up with for the next little bit,
Right.
or whatever. But I don't know how I would approach it. I don't know. So
I don't know either.
just tell them, just be like, hey, bro, just be like, you know what? I'm the one in charge. You're going to do as you're told. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No, I think, yeah.
No, and maybe even, I don't know, trying to think of, I mean, if you can't beat them, join them sort of situation. I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. But it's like, you know what? Like, I don't know how to, it's such a hard thing.
You know what? I think the approach that I'm trying to take is that I'm going to give them as much help as they're willing to receive.
Uh-huh.
And hopefully continue to put my ideas out there and try to guide the team. And I guess, I don't know. I think it helps having a professor kind of backed me up as far like, because I think part of it is anyway, I don't know if you want to hear the whole story, but I think part of it was that like my role was kind of ambiguous, and so he wasn't quite sure if he was supposed to take direction from me.
Uh-huh.
And so I think having a professor kind of say, hey, so I'm going to be out of town next week and Catherine is going to run the meeting, and like sort of thing. I think hopefully now he kind of understands what's going on, but
Totally.
yeah.
Well, that's rad. I hope the best. I'm sure it'll all shift, especially like when you get more familiar with who you're working with and stuff,
Yeah, totally.
Maybe one of those things that takes time, and like, I don't know, I try to be, I'm not perfect at it, but like take the bonds that make us free approach to things and just recognize that like if they're not doing their part, just do whatever you can do to be like a good leader, and then like it'll bring it naturally out in those people, you know. They'll respect you more for it. So says, how could bishops use the diversity in his counsel and his words? I think on this question, it's mainly just comes down to actually listening to him. I really like, if my counselors have advice, I just take it, you know. I feel like they're very very smart, inspired individuals, and so you have to use what people give you. And I'm sure that you feel that same way in your calling.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to make the presidency as like as different as possible. That way there are those different perspectives, and hopefully it appeals to more than just one type of group. You know what I'm saying? When we're talking about things, we
Totally.
consider all angles of the problem.
Totally. No, I think that's a really good approach. Says, how have you seen bishops and church leaders do this? My bishop, he's a hospital administrations dude, so he's really coordinated. He's like the head dude over at one of the hospitals in IF, and I feel like he's just like so upbeat to hear new ideas, and like so funny. His behavior is awesome, but he's just like so enthusiastic to like whatever we're tackling for the day. And so I don't know, he's just a really good dude, and I feel like he does a really good job of incorporating each one of us, you know. I feel like my voice is heard a little bit with him.
Yeah. I just thinking back to what Elder Ballard said, I think making sure everyone else's voice is heard before you state your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think as soon as you state your opinion, that's gone. Like they're gonna go with what you say.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, oh yeah, totally, that's what we want to do. But if you just set up the environment that it's okay to have different opinions and that you want them to be fully contributing.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. And like I like how there's a couple of different things I liked from that. But I think that it was interesting that like the bishop was so receptive to the feedback, even when it was like he was the center of criticism. I don't know if you remember that example.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, like, yeah, I don't handle criticism well. I don't think anybody does, but I just thought it was so cool that like he went about it with the proper spirit and was like, yeah, you know, like I would agree, you know, that's something good that we could do to bring the spirit into that environment. And I think that people that take criticism well, I feel like have a leg up in life, you know?
Absolutely.
So, kind of this, I'm going to jump back really quick because we skipped over one of the questions from part 2, which was over the video for the Brave versus Colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
It says, what did John Skipper, the ESPN president, mean when he answered yes to the question, do we hire the minority or the person that is most qualified?
This question.
That's weird, right? That's a weird one, huh?
Well, I think that I think that he's saying that it shouldn't be either or.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of going under the assumption that minorities aren't going to be the best for the job. So we're hiring them out of, because it's a requirement, because you have to fulfill a certain amount of diversity to be kind of a legal company now. But I think the fact was, by him saying yes to both, he was saying that you need to realize that sometimes it can be yes in both situations, that they're the best for the job and they're not your typical Joe. I don't know.
That's awesome. I actually didn't look at that way, because like in my mind it was like he answered yes because he didn't actually like have like a straightforward answer, like it's ambiguous, like yes, just whatever, you know, yes to, you know, one or the other, you know. And I think that's really cool perspective. That didn't click for me the way that it did for you. That's awesome. So, because I mean, and that's the thing is, it's like, yes, are they different? Does that help them to be more qualified? I guess,
Yeah.
you know, can you capitalize on that? So, in summary, it says the Making Differences Matter article assumes that there is some value to companies in promoting a diverse workforce. Do you agree? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And I guess I'll just kind of give my insight on it. But like, I think that diversity comes down to like diversity, like not only in like color, but like in religion and like perspectives. And like, it really is the key to learning, you know? I mean, that's one of the things that I took from Brother Dalton, like, was just don't get boxed in. Like, the second that you close yourself off to alternative practices, you really limit your ability to learn. And I think the same goes for the workplace. Like, the second that you think that you've gained everything, or that, you know, nobody else has anything to offer, or, you know, certain people of certain colors and races only have this to offer because they're good at this kind of work. I mean, you're just setting yourself up to fail.
The stereotypes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have much more to add on to that. I think that's good.
Sweet. And then the last question, it says, what approach would you take to diversity as a manager? And like, just based off the reading, I think it's pretty easy to assume that the best way, and the way that I would do it, is to integrate the kind of the two different paradigms, and try to find that balance between utilizing differences, but not just like in the traditional, like, oh, like your specific culture or your race is really good at, you know, sales, so we're going to put all you guys on sales, you know, and really work to try to break down some of those barriers. But I think it's going to take a lot of work.
I think that's interesting that you brought up differences in religion too. It made me think of sort of what the founding fathers and what Joseph Smith said about making sure that all voices are heard in the public square, and how that's so critical for us to be making important decisions. And I hope that's something that is still around. Like, I think as far as like a world perspective, I think the world is much more in favor of promoting racial diversity than religious diversity. I think
Totally.
the fact that we can't talk about, like, here at the school, the fact that we're able to talk about without any kind of
buffer or filter.
Yeah, you can completely say your opinion, and I think that makes a huge difference. I wish there were more places that you could do that.
Totally. I think that just like race, religion brings that negative, like, oh no, they're talking about God, and like, where's this going to go, or politics, whatever. But it's that same barrier, you know. We need to get past it, because like, when we can talk about these things, and like even like integrate some of the practice, be like, you know, my religious organization, we do this, and it's really effective for this, and I think that it'd be good here, or whatever, you know. And then it's like, oh, well, really cool, what do you guys do, you know, instead of like this, oh, well, we don't want to hear about your God, you know.
Yeah.
And it just, that same closed off nature. So I think that's cool. It's a cool point. So, well, what's hash? I think we're good. I think we're good for our discussion, especially with so few people. But I'll see you in class tomorrow. And I was going to ask you something, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, have you done the reading for tests and assessments yet?
The reading?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Totally. Yeah, no, there's only like 5 pages, but this one's more confusing than the first 2 validity. So I didn't know if you happen to know anything about it, but maybe I'll catch you before class tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, tell Sarah I said hi.
Okay, I will. She's right here. So cool. We'll catch you tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, see ya.
See ya.